Hello and hello. Welcome back to the Undisputed Champ YouTube boxing channel. We're back and today we're talking heavyweights. Tyson Fury versus Derek Chisora. Coming up December 3rd. Let's go. This is actually a trilogy fight. And people normally think trilogy fight, someone must have won one, someone must have lost one, or maybe there was a draw in there, or there was controversy, but this is actually a trilogy where one guy has dominated the trilogy and we're still getting a third fight. But before I look at like the cons of the fight, let me focus on the positives. And there are some positives. Starting with Tyson Fury, he's building up a little bit of a resume in the heavyweight division now. He stopped, well, it presumably looks like he stopped slacking, he stopped taking time off, and he wants to make a little bit of a run for it. If I look at some of his big wins, obviously he was the first guy, well, not the first guy, he was the first guy in ages, like 9 years, to beat Vladimir Klitschko. And he did that in Vladimir Klitschko's adopted backyard of Germany. He was the away fighter. There was a lot of shenanigans that the Klitschkos were pulling, but Tyson Fury was able to pull through, and he just comfortably outpointed him. I remember watching that fight, and I was in a room with all of my friends, and we were like shouting at the TV and like, "Come on, Fury, come on!" But in hindsight, it wasn't actually a very entertaining fight. We just got wrapped up in like the gravitas of, getting a new British heavyweight champion, defeating of like a long-time heavyweight champion, and yeah, it was a really good win. He then took some time off for activities outside of the ring, and failed drugs tests, etc., etc. He blew up in weight, but he came back. He fought Wilder twice, or three times in fact. The first one was a draw. I think he won that one. And then he knocked Wilder out twice, and after those two knockouts, Wilder's changed his whole personality. Now Wilder's a bit more kumbaya, and it says he's not taking life for granted. He went from saying "I want to catch a body in the ring" to saying boxing is a dangerous sport, and our lives are at risk. And yeah, Fury's knocked some sense into him by the looks of it. And after taking Wilder out twice, he went and fought Dillian Whyte and cleaned Dillian Whyte up as well. So that's three knockouts back to back to back. Very good showing from Tyson Fury. If he keeps this up, it's not the best resume in the division at the moment. I think AJ's resume is still hands better than him. But if he can keep this up and maybe get an AJ on his resume, maybe get a Usyk on his resume, then we can start saying, yeah, this is the number one resume in the division. And if he continues to do that and dominate, he could have an all-time resume, definitely. But switching gears, and we look at someone like Derek Chisora, Warhorse Chisora, Derek War Chisora. This guy gives his all, man. He gives his all in every fight. You can't say you've watched a Derek Chisora fight and Derek hasn't given his best. He works with the tools that he has, and he does what he can. And I always respect Derek for that, because he's put his body and his health on the line a lot of times, and he's fought in ways that aren't, a protective style, aren't styles that you associate with someone long in the sport, but he's still here chipping away, and he's got some decent wins on his record as well. I know officially on his resume it was a loss to Robert Helenius, but he really did win that fight. He's beaten Krubak Pulev in his last fight. Pulev was a long-time contender in the division. Derek's also got a couple, a couple close losses. He closely lost to, well, I say closely lost, but he closely lost to Krubak Pulev the first time. He lost to Dillian Whyte, but that was a grueling fight, which was fight of the year contender. And I thought he actually won that fight in the first Dillian Whyte fight. And then even the second Dillian Whyte fight, he was winning all the way up to the 11th round and unfortunately got himself KO'd. He gave Vitaly Klitschko one of his hardest fights, like, throughout his career. And that's another, people say all-time great heavy, or, great heavy of the last 50, 20 years. And Chisora gave him one of his most difficult fights, again in Vitaly's adopted backyard of Germany. So Chisora does bring a lot to the table. This is when we start looking at the cons, because with all of that, with Fury having a good resume, with Chisora having a good resume, Fury has beaten Chisora twice already. One time was early in their careers in 2011. Fury outpointed Chisora with ease. Well, I wouldn't say ease. Chisora started well, but tired late into the stretch, and then Fury outpointed them with ease. I think scorecards were like 118, 111, 117, 112 type scorecards. Then they fought for a second time. This was a couple fights before Tyson went on to fight Vladimir, and Tyson just he beat the brakes off Chisora that night. He beat the brakes off him. He jabbed his head off. He was fighting southpaw for the whole fight. Chisora got pulled out in the 10th, and yeah, it was looking horrible in there for Chisora. That's one of Chisora's worst fights, and he came in quite light. He came in very good shape, but he just didn't put up a good showing. And from then, Chisora hasn't really improved. He's had good fights, but I can't say technically he's improved much since then. And Tyson Fury has improved, I would say, drastically. Tyson Fury's gone from a jab first point heavy guy to a come forward slugger, and he's been getting KOs with that style. So I'm this is why I'm getting conflicted, because I'm like, I like Chisora in the sport because he gives his all, and I love when boxers give their all, and it's heavyweight boxing, so anything can happen. But at the same time, Chisora's obviously deteriorated since the last time Tyson fought him, and Tyson's got better. Chisora is much older. Tyson's still around his prime. Chisora hasn't been on a major winning streak. Tyson has been, and it's been on a KO streak. And Tyson knows how to beat Chisora in two different ways, pointing him and stopping him. So it's tough for me to see where Chisora, how Chisora can win the fight. But one thing I will say, Chisora's given me some of the most entertaining boxing fights I've ever seen. The fight with Derek Chisora, the fight with David Haye, that was one of the most interesting build-ups, interesting fights. It was at Upton Park. You know, Chisora came out there, he looked like he was going to take David's head off. Unfortunately, he got KO'd. But Chisora, he's a very entertaining fighter, and if he can't win, I still think he can make it entertaining. I'm picking Fury by stoppage, because I think Fury's going to continue this run of stopping fighters. I just don't think Chisora has what it takes. But what I will say is Chisora has some of the biggest heart you'll ever see in a boxer, and I actually want Chisora to win. This will be his last heavyweight title fight, and it may even be his last ever fight if he loses. So I actually want Chisora to win. I want him to prove the doubters wrong, the haters wrong, including myself. I want him to prove me wrong, and I want him to go and win the fight. But if I'm honest with you guys, I can see a Tyson win by a knockout, and I think it's going to be fairly comfortable. Just the last bit on this, I'm actually going to be at the fight. So in the comment section, let me know if you're going. Let me know if you know people are going. You know, if you want to chop up boxing in a real life, just hit me up in the comment section, and then we'll see what we can do. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys.